Alex here with a video on the issue, I guess, with the stock market short sale. I saw a lot of videos on this, and I know a lot of people asked me to do a video on this, and I wasn't going to do it. I didn't think it fit into the channel. But then I saw a video from a perspective that actually resonated a lot with what I used, or the ideas that I used to approach the court system, and I think it'll be beneficial to my viewers. So I'm going to go ahead and do this now. What I'm going to do before I run the clip is I'll mention very briefly that I learned that the approach of being really nice wasn't going to work when it came to my case specifically, and I think with any high conflict child custody case. And the reason why is because the solution to the problem is so counterintuitive. At least it is to the judges and the attorneys that are involved. And so I ended up realizing that I had to kind of mix up the kind, nice, positive approach with the negative attack I don't know. I mean, it's negative. I mean, when you attack the court system and you criticize it, you're being negative. And when you attack the judge, especially with appeals, they see it negatively. And finding that balance was difficult. And I realized that, unfortunately, as much as they respond to you being nice to them, most of the time they respond a lot more to you inflicting damage. And this particular video clip that I'm going to run shows that I guess you could say hypocrisy in a way, where the clip, when I run it, it's going to show that one of these, I guess he's a trader or a broker or something, I don't know, he's just complaining about what happened and how the hedge funds lost so much money. How he's saying all of these things that are actually true and wonderful, but he didn't start saying them until after ordinary people banded together and started to inflict damage upon his industry, or his company, his industry, he himself, I don't know. The point I'm trying to make here is that the ugly conclusion that we end up coming to is that if you don't start inflicting damage, they don't start listening. So I'm going to go ahead and run it now. Then I'm going to elaborate a little bit more on what I think. And then after that, I'll go ahead and explain some of the details of what happened. You don't have to really watch the end part. If you were curious and learning how it all happened, then you can watch it. Anyway, let's go ahead and run the clip now.
Listen to this thing. This is some dude on MSNBC complaining about all the GameStop buyers.
Maybe you're learning here. Maybe it's fun, fine. Maybe it's a movement. But be prepared to lose 80 to 90% of it. And if it's still worth it, then have at it. But the biggest loss of capital here will be the human capital of young men who are sitting and staring at their phone and watching the price of Bitcoin or the price of AMC. And ask yourself, would you be better off taking that 1, 2, or 3 hours a day and working out, trying to form relationships with mentors, with romantic relationships, with people at work, getting great at something so you can be the person on the other side of the trade? The greatest loss in capital here is from young men who are more prone to gambling addiction, who don't understand the markets. I think we are setting ourselves up similar to how there's a ton of young women out there who became very depressed by sitting in their rooms looking at Instagram. Self-cutting and self-harm skyrocket. I think you are going to see an explosion in young male depression, and I think a lot of it is going to be reverse engineered to apps that convince you you're part of a movement or physically addict you to your phone. Ask yourself, would your time staring at Robinhood be better spent somewhere else? That is the real capital destruction that is taking place here.
I kind of agree with them, to be honest. I kind of agree with like 90% of what he said, but these guys didn't give a shit about anybody for the last 10 years. Suicide's gone up, opioids. It's not funny, but I'm just saying the funny part is they didn't care for 10 years and they lose a bunch of money in a hedge fund, and all of a sudden they're like Mother Teresa freaking. They're like, do you really want to do this? You're just sitting on your Robinhood account all day. You're going to start cutting yourself. It's like, bro, we've had social media problems for a decade, and you've said nothing until people went at hedge funds. What about in 2020 when the government shut everybody's business down? 100,000 restaurants got wiped out. Millions of businesses got screwed. Millions of people lost their job. Millions of people lost billions of dollars, trillions of dollars in the stock market because there was pretty much an engineered implosion of it. Did he have this then? Hey, people aren't able to exercise because, they shut down the gyms. You shut down my gym. This guy didn't give a crap about that. GameStop and AMC go up, and he probably, hedge funds lose billions of dollars, and all of a sudden this guy's like Tony Robbins or freaking Gary Vee. He's like, do you really want to do this? Do you really want to sit on your phone and Robinhood and just waste your life away? You can't. He put everything under the sun. This could have been a motivational, TED talk or something on a paid course, like a Ty Lopez paid course. He's like, he went through everything. He's like, you're missing out on women. Women are cutting themselves on Instagram. I mean, guys aren't growing up. They're getting addicted to social media. It's like he went through every talking point of the last 10 years in 2 minutes. What a funny guy.
And one of the things that I wanted to mention about the fact that the hedge funds and all the people connected to that who suffered from the WallStreetBets Reddit rally, whatever, it wasn't just that they felt that they were attacked, and it wasn't just that they were in many ways humiliated. And I mean, honestly, when you inflict that much damage, you get a reaction. But what I wanted to say here before I moved on to the portion where I kind of just explained what happened in detail is you have to go about it the right way. There's a lot of people that they attack the rich, they attack billionaires, they attack hedge funds, they attack the market, they attack market manipulation, but they just yell and scream and they post stuff online and they have forums and stuff, and it doesn't do anything. And I noticed that very similarly with the family court system, that's where a lot of people are. They attack in the sense of freedom of free speech and posting things and social media and yelling and getting angry. And even the media sometimes jumps in on this, and they do more damage because they're the media. But even that, it wears off very quickly, and the system just goes back to what it was doing before. But what happened here that's triggering meaningful change is that the people who inflicted damage on the hedge funds did so by using their own rules against them. And that's one of the things that I noticed, not just with my specific case, but with our Nevada judges, is I think it's so effective, my case specifically, because I used their own rules against them. And that was something that really struck them to their core. When I'm not yelling and screaming like all the other parents are, when I'm saying pursuant to Nevada revised statute, this, and this, you're wrong, and the Court of Appeals, or the Supreme Court, who's literally them, it's their boss, it's judges, tells them Alex is right and you guys are wrong, that really shatters their reality, which is that anyone who yells at me or is mad is just a disgruntled litigant in family court. They can't do that when a justice of the Supreme Court says, you, Your Honor, have abused your discretion. When you use their own rule system against them, it's so much more effective. And one of the side effects of that is it teaches people the importance of law. I think a lot of us have been told since we were in school, laws this, laws that, we're a nation of laws, blah, blah, blah. Nobody knows what that means. But then when you go to court and you find out that these laws control the outcomes of your cases and that it's going to affect when you see your children and it's going to affect how much money gets taken from you, and then you see, wait a minute, I can use these laws as a nobody to force this judge, to do what I want. It causes a connection, and people see, wait a minute, laws matter, but they see it in a way that they never saw before. They see, not only am I winning my case now, but I see the point to changing some of these statutes, because if we change them, we can force these judges to do the right thing. Same thing with the WallStreetBets group that attacked the Reddit group that attacked the hedge funds by doing this, because they didn't buy the stock because there were any signs that it was supposed to do well. It seemed from everything that I read and learned that they bought the stocks just to spite the hedge funds. It was purely a way to inflict damage on them, and it worked because they used their own system against them. They used their own laws, their own system, they used their own game. That they just used everything that they were supposed to use against them, and it triggered a massive reaction, similar to what I'm doing with our Nevada judges, where I'm not allowing people to post personal reviews and stuff like that because I just don't think it's effective. Everyone else is doing that. If you want to do that, go somewhere else. There's all kinds of websites doing that. I'm trying to use their own rule system against them to get them to do what they're supposed to do. How can you criticize our Nevada judges for reporting legal mistakes when the whole point of being a judge is to not make legal mistakes? If you're there and you're telling them to please follow the rules that you're telling us to follow, there's no way that you're going to sound unreasonable. And I think that's one of the reasons why our Nevada judges are so effective, because it also uses their own rules and their own system against them. So I wanted to kind of let you guys know that that's my one of the things that I really picked up when I went through my experience when I represented myself for 8 years. I realized that being nice wasn't going to get me anywhere. In reality, being nice did get me, through the first few steps, but to get, all the way to the end of the case, to get through maybe 4/5 of the case, I had to be kind of a jerk. And I had to kind of force them to do what they were supposed to do because they weren't doing it on their own. Anyway, I decided to share that video clip because I thought that that was one of the video clips that might actually connect very much with what we talk about on this channel. And I guess if you would like to now, you can stop watching. But if you are curious to know the details of exactly what happened, I'm going to go ahead and explain my sort of version of what happened, and I'll use my own analogies. There's a lot of other websites out there, or YouTube channels out there, that are explaining this in detail as well, probably even like experts in the area. So to really understand what the hedge funds were doing, you have to understand the difference between short selling and buying stocks. Most ordinary people can understand how buying stocks works. If you buy a stock at $10 and you sell that stock when it goes up to $100, you make a profit of $90 because you sold it at 100 and it cost you 10. So 100 minus 10 equals 90. Most people understand that. Most people know that the whole point of buying stock is that the price goes up so that later on when you sell it, you make money. Most people know that if the price goes down, then if you sell it, you'll lose money. Most people know that if it completely crashes, then I guess the value of the stock is zero and you lost all the money that you put into it. But you can understand how much you're putting at risk by understanding how much you bought. If you bought 10 and they are suddenly worth nothing, then you lost 10. That's it. It's simple. It's pretty simple. Most people get it. Short selling is weird. Short selling is very weird. So this is the way it works. You don't buy stock from a company. What you do is you borrow stock from a broker. You borrow in the sense that you sell it immediately. You might think of it like you're selling something you don't own. Let's say instead of buying a stock at $100, you decide, hey, I want to sell this stock for $100 right now, even though I don't own it. Even though I don't own it. And so what you get is $100 cash. Yay! But now you have a debt. And a lot of people might think, well, okay, so you have to pay $100 back, right? No. They don't want that. They don't want that money back. That money is your money. They want a stock back. You sold a stock you didn't own. Here's your money. You need to pay us back a stock. So that's where things get weird. They're hoping that the stock price goes down, not up. It's backwards. If the stock price goes down, let's say to $10 from 100, then they can buy that for $10 and they can give that stock back to the broker they borrowed it from, because the broker didn't care what the price was. They just wanted the stock back. So you can see how if they short sell at 100 and then they say, hey, here you go, here's your stock back, but they bought it at 10, you can see how they made a profit of 90. But the difference now is they made a profit on the company's decrease in value. In other words, they were gambling. They were hoping that the company would lose value. And if it does lose value, then they make a profit because of that weird cockamamie scheme. I don't know. Some other people might say it's legit, but to me, you can't sell a car you don't own. You can't sell a house you don't own. It sounds weird to me that you would sell stock you don't own. I would have just assumed that you would just pay back the value. But that's not how it works. They don't want that money back. That money is your money. They want the stock back. And so you have to cross your fingers and hope that that thing tanks. What happens if it goes up? Really bad things happen. So if they short sold, at $100 and the price of that stock went up to 1,000, they can't go back to that broker and say, hey, I owe you $100. No, you don't owe us $100. You owe us a stock. And it costs 1,000 now. So this is a problem. This is not supposed to happen. It's really dangerous because when you buy stock, you know what's going to happen if it crashes. You just lose it all. But when you short sell, there's no limit to how bad it can get. There's no cap on the number infinity. Infinity is not a number. It can go as high as it wants to. It's not good. So when they short sold all of these GameStop stocks, They were hoping that it would go down. They wanted GameStop to tank, and it didn't happen because a whole bunch of people got together on this Reddit called WallStreetBets, and they said, hey, these hedge funds are evil. Let's destroy them. And so they went and they bought a buttload of GameStop stock. And so instead of the value going down, the value went sky high. And so those hedge funds totally lost their minds when that happened, because the broker didn't want the cash back. The broker wanted the stocks back. But the stocks cost an astronomical amount. And so there's another problem that I haven't mentioned. There's a mechanism that can force them to buy the stocks even though they don't want to. And the reason, my understanding is that it happens when they start to freak out because the price has gone so high that it looks like that particular person might not be able to pay it back. And when the value of the GameStop stock got so high that the broker was like, you're not going to be able to pay us back, they forced the hedge funds to buy them at that super high price, which bankrupted one of them, I think, which then triggered something, well, it gets even crazier. So if you remember correctly from what I just said, you're hoping that the price of the stock goes down. But when the broker freaks out and forces them to buy all the stocks back, that actually causes a chain reaction, because now not only has that hedge fund bankrupted, but all of those stocks that they were forced to buy back at the insanely high price caused the insanely high price to go even higher, which caused another one to go bankrupt. So I guess they got bailed out by other rich people. Some other hedge funds bailed out the two bankrupted hedge funds. But it caused a chain reaction of events. So like all these ordinary people bought a bunch of stock, which caused a short squeeze on those two hedge funds, which not only bankrupted them, but in the process of bankrupting them, caused the stock to go even higher. And in many ways, you could say that those ordinary people took all that money because now they can sell their stock, and it's like it's worth a ton more because it's all their money that they poured into it, plus all of the hedge fund money that was just annihilated. So I hope this makes sense to you guys, what happened and why those billionaires got pissed. And I hope you can relate to the hypocrisy of the video, because the problems that guy describes in the video are problems that we've had for a long time. But they didn't, go out on TV and start crying until somebody inflicted damage on them. Somebody said, hey, you don't listen to moralities and ethics and right and wrongs, but you will listen when we destroy you. And that's exactly what happened. They all of a sudden listened and went on TV and started to say a bunch of stuff. And I think one of them literally cried. You can go on YouTube and type something like billionaire cries on news because of GameStop, whatever, and you'll see the guy cry. Anyway, I hope that this video was helpful to you guys. I was going to do my docket video today, but I'm going to just wrap up the week with this video, and then I'll get back to my docket series next week.